Hey everyone, it's Mark Scott, Director of Assessment and Accreditation at Shawnee State University, and I want to show you all how to use the Blackboard assessment tool, how to get set up on it, how it works, and how you can use it. So, first thing to do is to make sure that your goals, the learning outcomes that you have for your program or your course, that they are entered into Blackboard. And the way to do that is over here in the on the left-hand side, look at Tools, and then go to the Goals. Under Goals, these are all the learning outcomes that I have on file in the Office of Assessment and Accreditation. If you have changed your learning outcomes, if you have a new program and it's not currently in here, let me know and I'll make sure that I get those added. But these are all the learning outcomes that I have access to. Now, for the sake of this demonstration, I want to use the general education. So we have this is not all of the general education learning outcomes. These are the ones that have not gone through the assessment, their assessment review that we've been working on the last 3 years. So the ones that I want to show you, or that I'm going to use, is 01, 02, 02, the adapt written communication to different audiences, incorporate research from primary and secondary audiences, and then employ academic and ordinary language conventions. I taught a class recently that I know of an assignment and a rubric that I use in my class that aligns with those 3 learning outcomes. So I want to show you how I can incorporate or align that rubric to these outcomes so that I can use the Blackboard assessment tool. So let's take a look at my class. So here we go. Go to class, courses, English 1105. Grade Center. So here is where I have this the assessment project. So it's just something that I'm going to see. Let me show you the rubric that I used. Here it is. Okay. All right. So these are the 3 parts of the assignment that or the 3 criteria of an assignment that I taught in English 1105 that I thought aligned with the GEP learning outcomes, or those 3 GEP learning outcomes that I just talked about. So to align them, once you have a rubric set up, and you want to make sure that your rubric has points, it only works with points. So you can't really have anything that has 0 points, or it just won't read it, so it won't show up. So I told I entered 1 point for no response, 2 points for fails to meet, and the 1 point just tells me that was a no response. Again, if I enter 0, it's going to say that there was nothing here. So it's a little weird that way. So I have my rubric set up. There's 5 points for each criteria. There's 15 points total because I have 3 criteria that I'm looking at. And then here's how you align it. So you go to Add Alignments, and I've already got it lined up with that 01, 02, 02, adapt written communication to different audiences. But let me get rid of that so you can see how it's done. Add Alignments. Click on System under General Education. 01, 02, 02, adapt written communication to different audiences. And submit. And it will show up. There it is. And the other 3, or the other 2 are already done. So that alignments, that's done. Style, attention to detail. That's done. Okay. So we're all good to go. Close window. So I go to my gradebook, create a column, and in that column you want to make sure that students can't see this. So this is just for an assessment project. It's not actually part of the grade that students are going to receive. So something that you can do is that you can ask your colleagues, like, here's a rubric, please integrate it into your course, or if you want, you can work with Alyssa Owens and she will add columns for you and add a rubric for you that's already aligned. So that rubric that's aligned, it's attached to a gradebook column, and it's you turn the visibility off so students don't see it. There's a couple other things that you want to do, so we'll open that up. You want to make sure that the rubric is not visible to students, and you definitely want to click this no here in terms of with respect to include this column in the Grade Center calculations, you want to make sure that that's a no as well. So students aren't going to see this. They're not going to see these grades. They're not going to see this rubric. This is just for an assessment project. And what I did is those 3 rubric items, they're from this assignment, the documented argument. So what I did is I went through and I just looked at how did I score it on this documented argument, and then just transferred that over here to this rubric. So it went kind of quickly, and you can kind of see what it looks like here. View grade details, view the rubric. So that I just scored it really quickly. View rubric. Fails to me, and just kind of go through and like how that student doing the assignment. Again, it was a pretty quick process. So once you've scored all those, then the next step is to take a look at the data and see how students did. And the thing that's really cool about the Blackboard assessment tool is it used to be like if you wanted to get reports on how your students did, you could only take a look at how your students did in your class. We now have the possibility to take a look at how students did on any particular learning outcome, regardless of what class they were in. So as long as it's a rubric that is aligned with a learning outcome that's in the system, you can run a report on that learning outcome, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, this part of the tool, I don't know if it's going to be visible to everybody. It's something that I'm happy to send folks reports to if the access becomes an issue. But the way to do that is to go to Tools, EAC Visual Data, Outcomes, Goals, GEP Learning Outcomes. So GEP Learning Outcomes are there. You want that. And I just want those 3 that we worked on for the demo: 010203. 6, and let's say I want to do, alright, so these are just from the class, just those 3 learning outcomes for that rubric that I did in my class, and here's the data. So this is the first outcome, this is the persuasiveness outcome, this is the integrating sources outcome, and this is the conventions outcome. So looks like my students are doing a little bit better with conventions, less so with integrating sources and writing persuasively. So this is enough for I think for a lot of uses. How are our students doing on our particular outcomes? If you want to do something a little bit more fancy, or if you want to do a longitudinal study and you want to collect a lot of data, you can get Excel spreadsheets, and you can even create data models, work in institutional research to get information about students. I'd be happy to help you try to figure some of that stuff out. But you can do fancier things and take a look at like how first generation college students are doing and all that. But it takes a few extra steps, but it can be done. But this, I think, is going to help in most instances. Just how are our students doing? Are they meeting the learning outcomes? Now, the target that's set up here is 0.6, and that is, remember, there's a 5-point rubric. So it's saying that, let me show that rubric. Let me bring that up here real quick. So that 0.6, it's, this is 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. So it's saying approaches expectations. That's the goal. And me, I want them to meet the expectations. So that number, that 0.6, should get raised to 0.8. So my students are not quite meeting the goal in a few of these, and actually all 3 of the categories. They're a little bit closer with the conventions, but they're not really meeting the goal in terms of persuasiveness or integrating sources. So I got some work to do to get students where they need to be. Okay, so that's how to use the Blackboard assessment tool. If access is an issue, particularly with this EAC stuff, please let me know. I'm happy to send folks reports. I'll do it any time that you ask. But I think this is a tool that is going to automate a lot of our assessment processes, and I think it's something that we should take advantage of because we're already paying for it. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to help you all figure out how to use it. Thanks.